Okay, today we're going to be discussing the SAVE Act and whether or not illegal immigration voting is a real thing. We will look at it from the statistical perspective of the government. We will also look at it from the right-wing source, Just Facts, and let's see what they're saying and let's see what the truth really is. So let's first address, what is the SAVE Act? The SAVE Act claims to, quote, enforce the already existing law, the IIRRA of 1996. All right, so what are the key provisions of the SAVE Act? There are 5 key components to the bill. And moving on with more of the key provisions. Number 3 of the 5 key. Finally, the SAVE Act provides legal and criminal penalties. So we mentioned the IIRRA along with the NVRA earlier. What is it? Well, this law has been in effect on the federal level since 1996, and it explicitly prohibits non-citizens from voting in federal elections. If that sounds familiar, yeah, we already have a law. Now, what's interesting here is that we are looking at a law that is supposed to not be a redundancy, that it's supposed to be an amendment to these previously existing laws. That raises a really big question constitutionally. So, how big is the problem of illegal voting? Well, actually, if you look at the government's sources, the problem of illegals voting is statistically insignificant. So, according to most sources, this isn't even an issue. And so, how big is the problem of illegals voting, according to Trump and to the extremists who support him today? Their answer is illegal voting is massive, immense, and it will undermine elections, and it's growing daily. According to some non-federal sites, unlike the USCIS, their conclusions are alleged as completely different. For example, according to justfacts.com, the website reports that a new study by JustFacts has found that about 10% to 27% of non-citizen adults in the U.S. are now illegally registered to vote. And again, the citation's right there for you to examine. And just because they did the study, that actually makes it less likely to be true, not more likely to be true. So, according to justfacts.com, the U.S. Census recorded more than 19 million adult non-citizens living in the U.S. during 2022. And we're going to use that year as our litmus test for how significant this problem is. Given their voter registration rates, moreover, according to justfacts.com, this means that about 2 million to 5 million of them are illegally registered to vote. So this means, according to the census, 2 to 5 million of them are illegally registered to vote. These figures are potentially high enough to overturn the will of the American people in major elections, including congressional seats and the presidency. I have quoted this directly. But let's break it down. Okay, so justfacts.com has made these claims, and this is according to their personal study. So they said, right, as you recall, there were 3 points. The first point is the U.S. Census recorded more than 19 million adult non-citizens living in the U.S. during 2022. Well, if you go to the U.S. Homeland Security website, you will see that there were only 11 million unauthorized citizens living in the U.S. during 2022. And I have included the citations there for you. So that's not a true statement. Okay, so let's look at their second point. JustFacts claimed, given their voter registration rates, this means that about 2 million to 5 million of them are legally registered to vote. Well, the Census Bureau only asks legal citizens if they are registered to vote. There is no inquiry if somebody is an illegal citizen. So there is no basis to say that 2 to 5 million of them are illegally registered to vote. This is wrong. It's just not true. Moving right along. How significant is this problem? Let's go to the third point that they presented. They stated, and again, this is verbatim, these figures are potentially high enough to overturn the will of the American people in major elections, including congressional seats and the presidency. Well, we've already proved that all the facts that they relied on were unsupported by the federal government itself. The statistics, the numbers, and the allegations that the U.S. Census records illegal voters registration are all fictitious. So if the facts are unsupported, so is the conclusion. So that doesn't hold water. But again, these are just facts. Great author, one of my personal favorites, Aldous Huxley, stated, facts do not cease to exist simply because they are ignored. Thank you for joining me today.